Hello, welcome back. It's Art of Cycling, and I'm Greg Leach, and we are at the Tour de France. Today's a rest day, so I thought I'd catch you up on where we're at by simply flipping through the paintings. These are just the ones that are still for sale. The sold ones, most have been shipped already, but nevertheless, you'll get an idea. And I had done a miscalculation, so the very first painting started with the very first team to roll down the ramp. Kahar Roll. Painting's called Leading Off the Tour. Launched by the team, so the team time trial meant that only one rider's time made for the whole team, but their times were given. So anyway, this is Tom Pitcoff, who plays up later. Launched by the team. Then we have Looking for Their Leader. Movie star's main guy dropped off the pace, and they were all looking back to decide if they should wait for him. It kind of ruined their team time trial, and then one went on ahead to get the best possible time. Then this is Philip Agana. This is Net Company Ineos, since with the two, so it's called Two Champions, One Team. Both the Norwegian champion and the Italian champion. Then finishing his first tour stage, this is Paul Sexes, the 19-year-old French hopeful, in his very first Tour de France. Then losing some time, this is the team of Tadej Pogačar. Now he's number one, but he's not the world champion in the time trial, so he's in his standard kit. This is the only time you'll see him in this kit the entire tour. Well, if he's not leading when we get, but that's probably not going to be the case when we get to the first individual time trial. And you've got the Polish champion and the Mexican champion. Now he wears the jersey in both disciplines. Isaac Del Toro, sorry. And then Ready to Pounce, this is Visma. 11 is Jonas Vingegaard, and he went on to wear the first yellow jersey. Then we go to the road, a coastal break. These three were out in the early breakaway as they raced along the Mediterranean coast, just north of Barcelona. And then we have the first sprint, intermediate sprint in this case, and the very first one went to Biniam Girmay, the Eritrean who has won the green jersey, followed by Mads Pedersen, who has worn it. I don't think he's ever won the green jersey before. And then Isaac Del Toro was missed by his team on the side of the road when he had a mechanical, was helped by some other teams, and eventually got back underway and had a very frightening chase down the mountain. And then this is the leader, Paul Sexes of Decathlon. This was called Take Mine and Go. His teammate gave him his bike, carefully laying Sexes' bike down on the ground. And then Sexes went off, got a bike change later, and then led through by the Americans. So there are Americans on both of the two teams of the two favorites. So Brandon McNulty and for UAE, and Matteo Jurgensen leading Jonas Vingegaard in the yellow jersey. And then who's going first? This is all the favorites. They're waiting for the attack. So Sexes, Evenepoel, Carapaz, Vingegaard, Del Toro, and Pogačar in the polka dot jersey that he claimed on the opening stage. And I believe it's Adam Yates leading them out. And the final painting of that stage sold. So now we move on to the next break, trying to establish a break in stage 3. The American champion Quinn Simmons is looking for some help. He never got it. And then when we got to the intermediate sprint, Mats Pedersen was the only one in this lead breakaway group to really care about the points, so the title was given no contest. And then we hit the first really big categorized climb, and out of the break jumps a Movistar rider, Raul Garcia, who hits the climb first. But Virtual King, this is Alex Baudin. Virtual meaning at this point he is the leader of the King of the Mountains jersey. Then the tour finally got back onto French soil, so this one onto French soil as we leave España, led by the UAE team. And at this point, Tadej is wearing the green jersey, and here's Vingegaard in the yellow. And then shaking a leg, because that's what a guy in a breakaway has to do. But this is Baudin shaking out a leg cramp. Now he's always guaranteed himself the Maillot à Pas, the King of the Mountains jersey, but he's still trying to win the stage. Then we move on to who and when. So again, the question of who's going to attack first. Now we have one of the Visma team members on the front. Tadej back in his World Championships jersey with Del Toro in the sprint jersey. So that was Del Toro over there, not Tadej. And then all the others. But it was Tadej who took the victory. You can see the other hopefuls, the other three, most of the main rivals behind. Then down the back, figured we had to get the French champion, Romain Grégoire, as well as the Czechia champion. Vauquelin, the French rider, so this is sort of, well, two French riders, and of course a Movistar. And then adding to his total, this is Balderstone of Caja Rural, getting more points over the next climb, but Alex Baudin right behind him. The maximum points at the sprint point went to Gourmet. Of course, Mads missing it with Jasper Philipsen in between. But that breakaway meant Pedersen won the stage. And then letting yellow go, so there's a big break up the road, and Tadej chose not to chase it. So they let the yellow jersey go. That should be the last one from stage 4. We move into stage 5, going it alone. Single rider, Baptiste Weisstroffer went off on his own. And then back off the back is Del Toro enjoying the sunflowers. I thought this painting sold. Let's set that one aside. Maybe not. Soigneurs are those who pass out bottles on the side of the road and whatever else the riders may need. They're the non-riding members of the team. Dry run, the intermediate sprint. And Max Kanter taking it ahead of Mads. I think that's Mads. Yep. And then filming the counter move. So shortly after the sprint, these three, Fred Wright, amongst the EF and Alpecin team took off, being filmed by the TV motos. These guys are all over the back of the bikes, and that's how we get all these images. That and helicopters, and a few stationary. Helicopter here from Safe in the Peloton. So this is the new yellow jersey from yesterday's breakaway. Torsten Train, Traeen. Of course, Del Toro. Here's Jonas Vingegaard. Whoops, I thought I got them all centered. But this is Olav winning his first ever Tour de France change. Olav Koy, riding for Decathlon. And then we're back to the next stage. So this should be stage 6. Breakaway group, and it's just Mads chased by Victor Campenance. Really no sprint there in the intermediate sprint. Then Baudin in his polka dot jersey, which he's in the process of giving away, is struggling up the Col d'Aspin. Middle of the stage, first of the Cat 1 climbs of the tour. And when he was dropped, so sprinting over the Aspin were Lenny Martinez, French man with a Spanish name, on an Arab team. And he's chased by the Frenchman Valentin Patropintia. See, I write everything on notes on the back. And then dangling. And this is Torsenterine as they start up the base of the Tourmalet, one of the legendary climbs, is starting to struggle. Now he has an 8-minute advantage at this point, but things did not go as planned. And that was because Del Toro launched an attack taking Tade with him, got a gap on Sexus and Vingegaard. Now the next painting sold already. And then we have Terine crashed on the way down after he was already by time out of the jersey. And he crashed. Yeah, I'm okay. Just knocked my coffee over. Crashed and got back on the bike, although we later learned that he was concussed, broken ribs. So he does end up pulling out of the tour, but he finishes the stage. Nobody wants to leave the tour after while wearing the yellow jersey, but he was forced to by the concussion protocol. It is a race for 4, so we know that Tade is up the road, Vingegaard is up the road, and the racing for 3rd, excuse me, and this plus one more are racing for 3rd place on the stage, but also between Lipowitz, Remco, and Sexus, they're all racing for 3rd on GC. The final painting of Tade winning the stage has sold, and not much of an advantage, so this is the next breakaway. Weistrofer went again. This time he was joined by going to cheat and look. Ortruba, Jacob Ortruba of Caja Rural, and the old school chalkboard scorekeepers letting them know what their gap is, and you can see they only have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Back to the intermediate sprint in the peloton. I call this the usual suspects because it's Cantor, Gourmet, Mads Pedersen in the green jersey, and Jasper Philipsen. And as the peloton closed in the closing kilometers, Ortuba and Weistrofer fist bumped for their efforts in staying off the front. They were sucked up shortly thereafter by the peloton. A little bit later, these three went on an attack to try to surprise the sprint teams. The Norwegian road champion is Anders Skarseth, also a sprinter, along with Jonas Abrahams and Casper Asgreen from EF Pro Cycling. But it was Tim Muller with a clear victory over, that is Athkath, right? Warren Seen. And Gourmet still looking for that stage win. And that was the end of stage 7. Stage 8 was another breakaway. Ortuba was in the break again. Another Lotto rider, not Baptiste Strofer this time, but Liam Slock with Thibaut Gornac from Total Energies. Intermediate sprint, Cantor and Peterson were paying so much attention to each other, and Cantor got it over Peterson by but Jasper Philipsen came flying around the outside to take the intermediate sprint points. And Liam Slock was holding off the peloton against all odds. But inside of 2 kilometers to go, the peloton was almost on him. He actually sat up in about another 500 meters and got sucked, but he almost got the stage. But instead, 2 in a row, Merlier won the second stage victory in this, the 113th Tour de France. Biniam Gourmet on his wheel. Well, not really, but the next to cross, and then Olav Koy. And then I believe, yeah, this is stage 9, so the last one before today's rest day, the intermediate sprint called Oh No You Don't, is Mads Pedersen looking back to see Biniam Gourmet desperate to try to catch him before the sprint line. You can just make out Max Cantor there in the background. I think he took 3rd on the intermediate. Of course, today was the hottest day thus far. Of the top 10 hottest days, 4 of them have been in this Tour de France, of all history of the Tour de France. This is Julian Alaphilippe spraying cold water on his teammate Marco Haller in the breakaway. They only have like 15 seconds. Movistar, Tom Pidcock, and I don't remember who the net company Ineos rider is. Dorian Goudon. That breakaway was caught shortly thereafter, and the next one to go was larger, being filmed by the ever-present TV motors. Of course, there's a camera in front. That's why we're getting this picture. And it's the American champion Quinn Simmons, who interestingly changed to white shorts for today's stage. Not Liam Stock, but Leonard van Ertveld and Tim Simmons' teammate, the Canadian Derek G. West, and Tom Pidcock. But they were being chased, and this was what the other eye, these guys keeping an eye on the break. What are they up to? Why was UAE chasing? A lot of speculation. They thought maybe they could win the stage, maybe they could take over the team qualification. That's why Lidl Trek, who currently owns it, are wearing yellow helmets. And if I have a rear view, they're also wearing yellow bib numbers. But they're followed quickly by Jonas, so of course Del Toro, but now he's in the white jersey of the young rider. Tade in his yellow jersey. Little French flag on the side of the road. You can't see the fans, but they were waving a French flag. And then poor Tom Pidcock, who had bridged and bridged and bridged, his gears stopped shifting on him, one of the downsides of the electrical, but he beat them into submission, kicking his derailleur, and it finally started working again. It did fail in the sprint, so he wasn't a factor then. And then this is the now 4-person breakaway. Can they stay away? Pidcock got everything working again. This is Tobias Johansson. Wout van Aert, who rides for Jasper's team. A very strong rider, and probably one of the reasons the break was staying away. Alex Baudin, out of the polka dot jersey now, riding for EF. So these were the 4 that were desperate to hold off the peloton. They did by a mere 6 seconds, with Van der Poel taking the stage, followed by Tobias. The second time he's taken second in the stage. So that's where we are. All the paintings you have seen are for sale, with the possible exception of enjoying the view. And thank you all so much for watching. Of course, I'll be back again painting tomorrow. Like I say, all of these are for sale. If you go to my blog, theartofcycling.blogspot.com, you'll find direct links for each and every one of these paintings and a post talking more about the paintings in detail. But you'll find a direct link to my website, gregleach.com, and there you can purchase any of these paintings. In a few cases, particularly the ones that are sold, there are digital prints available too. Of course, I'd love to know what you think of these so far. Tomorrow we start stage 10, so I'll back with a long form video for that. And we'll see what the race has for us to paint. I know it'll be a fun day, and I hope you'll be there to watch it. Thank you all so much. Truly appreciate it.